Hey, friends, my name's Ben Goreski, and I'm the host of the Evolving Man podcast. Thanks for tuning in yet again for an episode, this time with a man named Kute Blackson. Kute is an inspiring figure. He's a speaker, he's a facilitator. I would call him a spiritual visionary. He's an inspiring figure, and he came on the show for a pretty long conversation, actually, where we dug into his life story path, which is exciting and full of lessons and wisdom. And Kute takes us on a number of tangents full of interesting stories and um, metaphors for life. And we dig deep into the concept of surrender, something he's wrote a book about, and really the idea of listening to your soul's journey, your soul's calling, how to follow your soul's journey rather than some other journey, some other idea of where you're supposed to go, and how people can find that and listen to it, and what to do at those crossroads when we have these moments of inspiration. And he shares a lot of personal insight from his own story around that. Kute wrote the book called You Are the One, a bold adventure in finding purpose, discovering the real you, and loving fully. His ideas very much align with the spiritual principles that I live by and that my wife wrote about in her book. And he's been on a lot of big shows and has been around for a long time. He's already done so much in his life. He's in his 40s. When I went up to tell my wife that I just did this interview after it finished, she said, "Oh yeah, I went to one of his things like 10 years ago. I met him. He's great." So yeah, it was nice to make contact. And one of the subjects we really dug into in this episode was Kute's story with his father. His father was a miracle worker, and he didn't use the word preacher, but it sounded like a preacher, a miracle worker, a healer that many, many people followed in his home country and then in London as well, where he grew up. And the story of his own growth within that sphere under his father, under the shadow of the father, and then breaking out of that and that conversation with his father, and then embarking on this journey of trying to find what he's meant to do and not knowing what that is. It's really interesting to see someone in the position that he's in, where he helps millionaires and billionaires with their lives, with their inner work. And he didn't see himself doing that when he embarked on this journey. He was sort of blind, like we all are. And yeah, it's just an inspiring story to listen to and to witness, and to walk beside as he tells it. So I think this is inspiring for everybody. We all are sort of stepping out into the dark and forging forward, sometimes flailing forward in the direction of progress, and we don't really know where we're going. And a part of us wants to always know where we're going, but we don't often get that in life. So there's some really great spiritual principles that are touched on in this conversation, and some really good stuff about a man's journey with the father, and how we can heal that, how we can come home. There's often a break in the relationship with the father in the teen years for a young man, and I think if we're lucky, we're able to wrap it up. We're able to come for full circle with our dads. And we talk about that in this episode. It's pretty impactful for me, at least. I hope you enjoy the episode. There are a bunch of links that Kute talks about at the end of the episode. I'll leave those in the show notes. And as far as Evolving Man goes, there's two things I want you to know about. Men, if you want to do a relationship training where I take you through a live program and about 20 different relationship tools, some of which are inner focused, some of which are outer focused, where you can go and practice them with your partner or friends or family. I will run a fall edition of the Conscious Relationship Council if enough of you men are interested. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. And for men who want to conquer their addictions, I run a men's group that's got elements of men's work in general, accountability, and fire and heart, all wrapped up into one, where I meet with guys for a live coaching circle once a week on Wednesdays. And we beat the crap out of our addictions, and we go into our inner worlds, and we go into our inner work, and we go looking for what's beneath our addictions. So many people can get clean and sober, but not so many people can excavate and do the deeper work that's required to achieve long-term sobriety. And we do some of that in this group as well. So if you're interested in that, that's the Freedom from Addiction Circle. I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. Folks, if you like this episode with Kute, if some part of it makes you think of a friend or it resonates with somebody that you know in your mind, please send them that episode. Share this episode with them. That's all I ask, is that people share this podcast with people who might align with it. So thank you, as always, folks, for your participation, for your attention, and for supporting my work. All right. Enjoyed this conversation with Kute Blackson. All right. I'm here with Kute Blackson. Kute, thank you for coming on my show, man. You are, in my perspective, a high-profile person. You've really been out there on stages, inspiring people, writing books, working with high-profile clients. I saw you on Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. I saw you on Larry King. You've been out there being big in the world for a long time. And so I just want to thank you for coming on my show and sharing your inspiration, your vision, your medicine with the listeners of the Evolving Man podcast.
Thanks for having me. I think you're doing great work.
So how do you describe your profession? What would you describe what it is that you do for people?
To be honest, I don't really describe it. I don't really try to describe it. People ask me, well, what do you do? What do you do? And I'm like, I don't really do. I undo. I don't coach people. I uncoach people. I uncondition people. I unprogram people from the patterns of conditioning that we have all built up over time, over decades from childhood. And so I sort of create experiences and processes that help people free themselves so that they can connect with their authentic nature and live from that place. And so in that sense, it's about evolution. It's about growth. So yeah, I just tell people, I help people transform, just to keep it simple. But if someone's really open, we have a deeper conversation.
I love that. Sometimes I'm often in personal growth circles and spaces, and I'm thinking about like, what is it that like makes this work, And something that's occurred to me in the last few years is that inner work or personal growth work it's not about adding something to you that wasn't already there. Like you're going and picking something up. Mm-hmm. It's more like you're actually letting go of stuff that's been blocking you from your natural essence, from your true, raw, natural power that's available to you. And that personal growth work is actually about letting go, shedding, unprogramming, unpatterning, undoing, as you are describing. And it's actually a less daunting thing to imagine, They're like, oh, okay. So like, I don't actually have to like download something and like memorize it. And, we've all been through school and having to like take stuff in and then we have to remember it. But no, you actually just have to like let go of something that you're holding. And that's not necessarily easy. You actually have to go through a process to do that. But this like idea of knowing that like the true you is there waiting, you just need to sort of like move the sand away, or what have you to get there is an inspiring vision.
Yeah.
So how did you get to this place? How did you get to this place where you're unprogramming, uncoaching, helping people in this way. And like, I'm down to go all the way back. Like, we can go to your
Yeah,
childhood. Like, we can talk
sure.
about your father. Like, I love going to those places.
Yeah, I didn't know the exact form it was going to take, but as a young boy, I always felt a deeper pull. I always felt like I'm here for a reason, a deeper reason than my own life, than my own self. There was a nudging in me. And so I think the environment that I grew up in also was very conducive to self-reflection. To some would say it was a very spiritual environment. Like, I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana. My mother's Japanese. I grew up in London. And my first memories as a young boy, and this I think really shaped the foundation for my life and perspective and sent me down a pathway. My first memories as a young boy was, I remember seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor, and she picks up the gravel that this man walks on, wipes it on her face, and stands up. And so, I mean, we could call that a miracle. And this is pre-internet, pre-social media. There's no one around, just me and seeing this happen. And so, week after week, I grew up seeing these miracles, the miraculous. And I think the blessing was I didn't grow up with any sense that this was anything special. I didn't grow up with any sense that this was anything mystical, anything abnormal. I thought this was everybody's experience. And, you eat, you shit, you sleep, you go to school, you do your homework, and yeah, someone's, standing up out of a wheelchair. It's just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a great blessing because that sense of the normalcy of this and the possibilities just made it so. And so I didn't think anything of it. I mean, people would come in with wheelchairs, and the same man whose gravel she picked up would look at them and say, "Hey, why do you have this wheelchair? Stand up. Why do you have these crutches? Stand up. You say you have cancer? No, you're going to be healed." Boom. And so this man was my father. He built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, a huge church in London, about 4,000 to 5,000 people every Sunday. And he was considered the miracle man of Africa. And I think, luckily, by the time I was born, my father had been to India in the 60s, had an awakening. Even though he had these churches, he had the spiritual, some would say, enlightenment experience by the Himalayas. And he became very mystical, very metaphysical. I call my father the sort of Yogananda or Muktananda, of Africa. That's kind of how I joked with my father. But he had these churches, so he operated inside of a framework that people could understand. But his understanding and his connection to something deeper was actually, I think, quite profound and quite transcendental. And so I grew up in this environment. My mother's Japanese. I grew up meditating with my mother, and she's Buddhist. And so it was very eclectic and inclusive. And so when I was age 8, for me, the process started, because when I was age 8, I started speaking in my father's churches, and that began there was no intention. I don't think I had any special gift. My father just threw me in the audience and said, "Speak." And all I know is when I stood in front of the audience, something started coming through that I could not explain, and I didn't understand, and people were moved. And so I began to question, like, what the hell is happening to me? What is that? What goes on? And I began reading books, and I would, how the path started was I'd sneak into my father's office, and he had 1,000 books on Eastern mysticism, Ramana Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Krishnamurti, Osho, to Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Dennis Waitley, Stephen Covey, Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, to the Western Wayne Dyers of the world, and everything in between. And so as a young boy, I really began to obsessively devour information, trying to understand myself and life and the nature and why I'm here and the cosmos. And this became my passion. This became my life. From 8 to 18, I probably read at least 700 books in the realm of spirituality. And I'd go to school, do my homework, come home, go for a run, eat dinner, and just read and meditate for 3-4 hours a night, till midnight.
Wow.
That was my routine from probably 12 to 18. I mean, I was obsessed with this shit. And, when I was 11, I saved up all my money, ordered Tony Robbins Power Talk. When I was 12, I saved up all my money, ordered $1,000 of Jim Rohn tapes. This was like, it was my life. And when I was 14, my father announces to his congregation that my son is taking over my church. He's my successor. And my
Did he
heart
tell you?
sank. No, we didn't speak about it. My dad is old school. My father, man, this masculine, old school, patriarchal guy was this like, it's my way or it's my way. I mean, he never said this, but you could just feel in relationship to him. It's my way or it's my way. You
Mhm.
choose which way you would like. And so that was my masculine imprint. And so my father was iconic. You know, I think as young boys, we first sort of idolize our fathers, you know, we put them up on a pedestal and we want to be them and we're afraid of them and we kind of have this respect for them, you know, and then we kind of hate them, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
and then maybe down the road, we start seeing them as human and as souls on a journey. And so at first, he was an iconic dude. I mean, you see someone touching a person on the head and they stand up, it's like, the guy's not human. And yet I'd see him in the living room and walking around in his underwear. It's like, that's my dad. So
Right.
we didn't speak very much because he's just very old school. And my heart sank in that moment because I knew that this was not my path. I knew if I was honest, this was not my truth. I knew if I was honest, I had a different destiny, but I couldn't articulate it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have clarity. So, you know, I think like many folks, I just let fear hijack my voice and my expression and my freedom. And I did not have the courage as a 14-year-old kid to say, hey, dad, stop. Hey, everybody. And so I just shut up and I went along with the plan. I tried to fit myself into a box of being who I thought he wanted me to be, who I thought the world wanted me to be, who I thought hundreds of thousands of his congregation wanted me to be. And for 4 years, I just sort of squelched myself, suffocated myself, and I felt like I was dying in the process. Because I think that when we betray ourselves, when we don't honor our souls and our truth and our essence and our being, we effectively commit suicide. It's a soul suicide, and we die, and we wonder why we're depressed and unhappy and miserable. And you know, we do all of this shit. We smoke, we drink, we look at porn, we to just sort of cover up and numb ourselves from the deeper truth. But I think at the deepest level, there is a part of us that knows. There is a part of us that knows the truth, that knows who we are, that knows why we're here, that knows what our purpose is, that knows what's true and what's not true. But often it's scary to own the truth because of the fear of the consequence. It's scary to own the truth because, whoa, if I own the truth, then will I be loved? If I own the truth, then maybe the life I'm living isn't right. So then what? The unknown. It's scary to own the truth because we have no one else to blame. It's scary to own the truth because now we have to be fully responsible for our power, right? And our result. And so I think we often hide the truth from ourselves and from others to function and survive. And so when I was 17 and a half, after 4 years of just hiding and pretending and ignoring what I felt in my soul, I had to make a decision. And this was I think it's in those moments of decisions that our destiny is shaped and changes, and you know the trajectory of our life is formed. And so I chose not to go to university, another crazy decision, because I went to a very prestigious school. Everyone in my school but me went on to university but me, in a class of like 100 and something. So this was like crazy.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I
sure
just felt,
I'm sure everybody was also expecting you to go,
of
you know,
course,
like because you
everybody,
were this high performer, like everybody
my
was looking at you.
father,
There was
my
a
mom,
gold
everyone
aura around
expected.
you. Yeah.
Everybody. But
Yeah.
I felt a calling already at 17. I wanted to go into this field of personal growth, you know, like, because when I started reading these books, all I knew as this kid from London, it's like, wow, you mean Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Mariam Ellison, Louis Hay, all these people, they are inspiring people, but not through a church, not through religion. There's seminars. What the hell are seminars in a room? And so that lit a fire inside of me. And so when I was 17 and a half, I remember needing to decide university or no. And everything inside of my soul said, no, go to America. And it made no sense to my mind. It made no sense to my logic or my personality. It was just a soul calling that said, go to America. And it was as clear as day. And I think often your soul doesn't care about convenience. You know, your soul doesn't care about comfort. Your soul cares about evolution. It's about evolving. It's committed to the evolutionary process of its own awakening. And I think that many times we don't follow the guidance or the knowing of our soul out of fear. We don't follow our soul, and we try to analyze the guidance we're given. We try to understand the guidance we're given. But I think in doing that, we kind of disconnect ourselves from our power and the flow.
Yeah.
But what I found is if you really, each time I have followed my soul, each time I have been obedient, because I think many of us, we hear it, but we're not always, we distract ourselves, or we negotiate, or we don't listen, or we're not obedient and we don't act. And so for me, just tapping into your intuition is a waste of time. Intuition means nothing. Intuition is completely meaningless unless you actually listen to it and act on it.
Right.
And so I have found that whenever I follow my soul, I always end up in the right place at the right time, even though the path I take may not be the one I expected. And so I said, you know what? I need to leave everything, renounce everything. I'm 17 and a half, almost 18. No college degree, no money, no father support, no one support. My prospects don't look great, but something inside of me is pulling me in a direction. That's when I knew. I basically retired from the ministry, long story short again, had the conversation with my father. And that was terrifying. I think that a man doesn't become a man until they face their father. A man doesn't become a man until they're willing to face the consequences of their action. I think for every man to be truly free, every human, but every man to be truly free, we have to be willing to sort of kill our father, to put our father to rest.
Yeah.
And until we do that, we're often little boys living in the shadow, trying to get his validation and approval, and we're not truly free. And so I had to think to myself, wow, what's my truth? What would I really do? If I had no father, would I stay or would I go? And the truth was no. I felt the calling to go to America. So I had the conversation with my father, which was an initiation in and of itself to face this man.
Man, this is a really important piece of your story, I think, is this turning point where you face your father. Yeah. I've heard hundreds of men's stories with their father. When guys enter the brotherhood that I run, the first thing they do after they do their introduction day or whatever, it's like on the second or third meeting, they tell their story with their dad. They tell their dad's share. We call it your father's share. And you tell your what it was like to grow up with your father. What was he like? What did you learn from him? What kind of behaviors? Were you afraid of him? Did you feel close to him? Did he feel far away? All of these things. Did you look up to him? What was it like in your teen years? And take us through that. And a lot of guys, so many guys, have to have a physical or metaphorical fist fight with their dad around this age. Yeah. For some guys, it was really bad. Like dad was violent towards his brother or himself or mom. And then one day he stands up and and everything changes in the house, once he really becomes a man in that moment. For other guys, it's not so violent, but there's this meeting of your dad's strong will with your strong will that is, it's burgeoning, it's bubbling, it's growing, and you're not fully there yet, but it's strong enough that it's like time to meet him. And, I hear this like call to adventure, this call, you need to go on a quest. You had this need that all men have to, we follow in our father's footsteps in many, many, many ways, we take so much of their programming in when we're children. And for better or worse, that is what we get. And we can't ever really get rid of that. We can't escape from it. Arguably you can change some of these things, but so much of us is our father. And at some point we have to differentiate. And for a lot of guys, this is the time. It's somewhere between 16 and 19 where it's like, hey, I'm not meant to be a copy of you. I'm not meant to be a photocopy. Like I need to go out and find my own growth edge away from you, So this is a really, how did your father react? How was that?
Yeah, we didn't, he was sleeping I'll never forget the day because I was terrified. And, many times people think, oh, you got to be fearless, which is nonsense. But it took a lot of courage. I was terrified, but I did it anyway. And so he just said, "Are you sure?" And I remember saying yes timidly. And he asked me again. And it was like this sliding doors moment and a choice point in my life where I was like, he's giving me, like, the universe is giving me an opportunity to backtrack, because he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." It was like the longest pause of like, yes. And he said, "Okay." We didn't speak for 2 years. Literally, we didn't speak for 2 years, and it was heartbreak. I wish I could have said I was happy, like, "Oh, I'm free," but it was painful. I felt like I just killed my father, broke his heart into pieces, and I felt a bit guilty, and I felt so much grief because I knew that potentially the relationship with my father was over. But underneath all of that, there was a deeper peace, because I knew that I was following something true. I was following something that was authentic in my being. And even though there was grief, there was a peace underneath that. And we didn't speak. And that's what led me to, I remember feeling like I just jumped into the abyss of a black hole and I'm flying without a freaking parachute. Like, and I remember praying to God, saying, "God, I need some help. And because I can't do this by myself here. Like, you've given me this vision, and you've given me, it was like in the void where you've left who you were, and you can't go back to the life that you've created, but you have not arrived at where you're going yet."
No.
And so you're just in the middle, and that void can feel excruciating. And there's different voids we go through in our life, but that void can feel excruciating. That void can feel like a punishment. That void can feel like a terror, a prison, a burden. But I think that void is a necessary womb. That void is a necessary cocoon that we must go through to truly die and release and let go and catch the next vision, so that we can be birthed into the next version of ourselves and the next version of our lives. And so here I am in this void saying, "God, help." And that's when, I think it was weeks later. I mean, at 17 and a half, the void was not too long for me, thankfully.
Thankfully,
I've had longer voids, man, where it's like fucking years or 6 months. It's like, I'm in hell burning. Has anyone here, but someone hands me a magazine called The Economist, and in the back it said American government is giving away 55,000 green cards in the green card lottery. And that's when I knew everything in my soul turned on. And long story short, again, I ended up winning a green card in the green card lottery, literally. And that's what enabled an 18-year-old Kute to come to the US months later, 2 suitcases, $800 in my pocket, knew no one in the country, and just showed up at 18, which I look back now and think that was kind of crazy. Because when I look at 18-year-old kids today, and I'm thinking, wow, I was that. How the hell is this kid going to survive? How did I survive?
Yeah.
But I think I wasn't thinking. I think that I was naive enough and innocent enough to just believe in life, believe in my goal, believe in where I was being led and where the universe was guiding me. And I just showed up, no clue. There was no internet. I couldn't plan. I couldn't schedule. I couldn't organize. There was nothing. No YouTube, internet, nothing. No one. It's just a vision. And that's when I came to the US, specifically Los Angeles. And I wanted to find, specific why LA and Southern California, because this is where like all of the authors live, man. Tony Robbins, Deepak, Marianne, Louise. This is like the Mecca of the Mecca. And I wanted to find these people and learn from them, go to their events, study with them, meet them. And that's what I came and did at 18. And that began my journey.
Wow. Yeah, man, you think about where you're at when you're 18, like you got 7 years of prefrontal cortex development left to do at that age, So there's like, there is this executive function that is not fully developed yet.
Yeah.
But the rest of your brain's there, the part of you that gets you moving forward, the dopamine system, like the drive, like you got a ton of testosterone in your body at 18. So there is this sort of courage and boldness that will push us out into the dark, like you left this, you left the light that your father was casting around your home if you imagine your father as the king of this like town that you were living in,
Okay.
you left the city walls and you went out in the dark,
Yeah.
and then you spent some time between towns where
Yeah.
the lights over there, the lights over here, and you're just in the dark on your own, and having to forge out on your own. And yeah, it takes a lot of courage to do that. And sometimes,
Mhm.
yeah, it's like you look at it and you're like, wow, it also takes a lack of, it's almost like you have to be brainless to do that, right? You think that
Yeah.
way when
You
you're
can't think.
a
Can't
fully
think.
fledged adult, because you just take
You just got
action,
to
right?
jump. Yeah. I just jumped. I
Yeah.
just leaped. I leaped before I looked.
But
And,
what you had at that moment is very unique as well, because you had spent years reading all of these spiritual texts and spiritual
yeah.
principles
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
authors from all over the world. All these different authors, the way I see it, are like pointing at something
Yeah.
from a different angle. All the books, like the angle movement that you made, from east to west. Like the way I see it, when you get more and more esoteric, everybody's pointing at the same thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you had downloaded all these different ways of understanding like what the meaning of life is and what it's
Yeah.
really like to play big in this
Yeah.
adventure of being a human. You
Yeah,
had
because
all of that.
all these books were like, follow your dream, follow your passion, the universe. Where it was like, if any of this, I said in that prayer, if
Right.
any of this shit works, because I've read 700 books, like, I need to know this stuff works right now. And I had a
Mhm.
moment where, look, I saw this ad in the back of the magazine. Life gives you clues. Many times we're not paying
Mm.
attention
Mm.
because sometimes those clues don't come in the form that you're paying attention to, or sometimes those clues don't come in the form that you want.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes the thing you pray for does show up. It just doesn't show up in the package that you expected or the package that you would like.
Oh.
And so we often resist the blessing of the clues of the universe. Sometimes the universe presents us with a gift. It just comes wrapped with freaking challenges and difficulties and pain and heartbreak. And we're like, no, 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 no. It's like, but there's a gift that the Bitcoin is inside of that thing, man. That gold it's in there.
Yeah.
Like, unwrap it.
Yeah.
And so someone hands me the magazine called The Economist, and I feel like, oh, why? I look at the back. American government's giving away 55,000 green cards in the green card lottery. Everything said apply. And in a strange moment and a flash, like, I knew I was going to win. I knew there was a knowing I'm going to win.
Mm.
That was April. I was told that if you don't hear by September the 18th, like, just, the government's not going to send you a letter, just move on with your life. And so every day I'm expecting to win. I go to my mailbox every day expecting a notification from the immigration. Nothing. I'm meditating. I'm praying. I'm doing my affirmations. I'm practicing the law of attraction. I'm doing all of it. Nothing. I cut out a piece of paper, wrote my name on it, colored it pink. Colored it green. And I wrote green card because I'm thinking I'm going to win a green card. I didn't know that green cards were pink at the time, by the way. But and so September the 17th rolls around, 18th rolls around. I have nothing in my mailbox. There's nothing. No notice. And that day, I remember being so mad and pissed off at life, at God, at the universe. And I said to my mother, I am going to America. I'm packing my 2 suits. I think sometimes the universe does test you a bit, to see, like, did they really want it? Did they really believe? And so that moment, I told my mother, I'm going to America. She says, but you don't have any documents. You don't have, it's called illegal, right? And so I packed my suitcases and I'm going in a few weeks. That night, we got a phone call from the law firm that we applied through. And the guy says to me, is this Mr. Blackson? I said, yes. He says, we just got the notice today in our office that you've won a green card. He goes, it's a miracle because this has never happened to us, any of our clients. It's a miracle. And I was like, oh my God, it's a miracle. I put the phone down, started jumping around, screaming, hugging my mother. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. In that moment of celebration, I heard the same voice whisper. It was like a gentle sense feeling whisper that said, why are you acting so surprised?
Hmm.
Deep down, you knew. Don't doubt. And I think many of us, we've been given a knowing, we've been given a mission, we've been given a vision, we've been given a calling, but we doubt it. Am I enough? Am I capable? Can I do it? Do I have what it takes? But I think that what I have found is we think that we choose the goal or the vision or the dream or the purpose. But I think that the goal, the vision, the purpose, the thing, it chooses you. It chooses us because we are the perfect people to fulfill that vision or dream or mission or whatever it might be, that calling we've been given. And if it has chosen you, then you have to realize it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to life.
Mm.
It belongs to the universe. It belongs to God. It belongs to the divine. And if it doesn't belong to you and that vision and that purpose belongs to the universe, then it's not your job to fulfill it. It's your job to say yes. It's your job to say yes to the calling. It's your job to show up for the calling. It's your job to prepare yourself. But it's life's job. It's the universe's job to fulfill itself through you. And so I think when what I learned to do more and more in my life as I grew and evolved was just open myself to the callings, open myself to the guidance and say yes and let life do the rest. So that's really how I came to the US. I had no idea, didn't know a single person, very little money, no contacts, landed at LAX with 2 suitcases, a small green card, $800, and asked the taxi shuttle bus guy, take me somewhere safe and cheap where I can stay for a few weeks.
Uh-huh.
Drops me off in freaking Venice Beach, which was crazy 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And he just drops me off there, and that began my process.
What a journey, man. This piece that you were talking about, being called by something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel called by something, but they feel they don't know exactly how to listen to that. They don't know exactly how to differentiate being called and like when to take strong action and when to surrender, because there is this like duality of how to like listen to the universe. You've got to be able to be deeply sensitive and listen to your heart's calling, your soul's calling, and hold a vision and like be strong and courageous in a way. And there also needs to be this side of you that can hold your own specific agenda loosely, so to speak. Like I was doing some breath work with some guys last weekend, and I said, like, bring your intention to this practice, but don't get too fixed on exactly how that's going to play out. You need to hold your intention loose enough that it can like show up the way that it wants to show up. The medicine can do what it needs to do in your life. And like, that's kind of how I see things happening in your story here, where like you had a vision, you knew what was going to happen, but you didn't know how or when.
Yeah.
And so you were juggling this like, almost like the masculine drive and the feminine allowing and surrender at the same time. How do you coach or describe that for people to help them tune in? Because I think there's a lot of blockages for people and a lot of confusion.
Yeah, I think it's a very multi-layered question, because it really allows the art of surrender. And I think I would just say that a lot of folks have this feeling or feel that surrender is weak, or they have a misconception about surrender. And I just want to clear that up so I can really do justice to your question. And the misconception around surrender is the sense of, oh, it's weak, it's passive. It just means you just do nothing. You just allow whatever to happen. What someone comes in your house and wants to like take your children, you just allow it. Right. It's like, that's not freaking surrender. And so this idea of, oh, if I surrender, I'm not going to manifest in the world. If I surrender, I'm not going to make things happen. If I surrender, I'm going to sell everything, walk around barefoot, and maybe move to the mountains, and I'm just be a hippie, and that's it. That's not surrender. And so if I surrender, I'm going to get less in life, right? And so kind of who wants that ultimately? That's not even what it is. It's definitely not exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would really invite people to understand is the essence of surrender. And if you really understand the essence of surrender, there really is no conflict. It seems on the level of the mind, oh, there's some conflict, but there really isn't. Like, what if you truly surrendered and you got more than you thought? Would you like more than you thought? What if you surrendered and it was better than you could imagine? You want better than you could imagine, right? Actually, before I even answer your question, okay, and I'm going to answer your question. You said you have a lot of guys listening. Let's just take it out of the woo-woo spiritual shit for a moment, and let's bring it. Let's ground it. Have you ever had sex? Have you ever made love? Most of us will say, yeah. I want you to just imagine for a moment I was going to say most beautiful, but it's subjective. So a beautiful sexual encounter you had with your loved one, your beloved, your wife, your spouse, just that person. It was beautiful. It was, we've all had those moments. That was amazing. It was amazing. It was incredible. It's like, wow, it's just transcendent. It just felt great, right? Whatever level. If you look at that sexual encounter, that lovemaking encounter, did you arrive to the bedroom with an entire laptop notepad? You completely scripted out the entire lovemaking encounter, minute by minute, hour by hour, second by second. It's like, okay, honey, in minute one, okay, we're going to make love today for exactly 58.6 minutes. And you're going to be on the right. I'm going to be on the left. Minute one, this is what you're going to do. Minute two, you're going to kiss me 6 times. Minute 7, and this is going to, and you just scripted the whole damn thing, and you just held onto it so tightly, and that was like, that's not what makes the lovemaking beautiful. What makes the lovemaking kind of transcendental and ecstatic is that you let go. I mean, that's what makes it. What makes it beautiful is you let go and you surrendered and you allow. Does that mean you just sit there like a dead fish in bed and just do it to me? Okay, I'm not going to move. No, there's an engaging. What's happening is you're allowing your feeling. You're allowing life. You're allowing the connection. You're in tune with your partner and dancing and allowing the flow. Yet you're in action. Yet you're surrendering. Now, if you're not surrendering, then you're just like fucking doing it. You're just forcing your partner into some sort of submission. It's like, I'm going to force you into good sex. It doesn't work that way. You have to feel. How do you feel? You just have to feel. You have to relax. You have to be open. You have to be in tune. You have to be sensitive. You have to take action. You have to relax. And life is lovemaking. Life is the greatest lovemaking experience. So when it comes to the sexual experience, you're like, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I get it. But when it comes to life, something like, no, I gotta make it happen. It's kind of like saying to your wife or your girlfriend, like, I gotta make you feel. It's just, it's a feeling. It's a creation. And so I think that surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do as human beings. It's the essence of life. I think that is the real secret to manifestation. So yes, it is a letting go of control, or I would even say the illusion of control. It is a letting go of an attachment to an idea of who you think you are, think you should be, the life you think you should be living. And it's an allowing. It's a greater allowing. And so what I would say is, yes, the old paradigm is very much the ego-based model for living life. And we need the ego to function in life. We need the ego to live life. The ego is not good or bad. It's just a vessel, that consciousness that we use to navigate through this human 3D experience. But when you're just stuck in ego, life gets very limited because the ego cannot see the totality. The ego cannot see the whole picture. The ego is limited and just wants what it wants and wants it now. It's like looking at a painting and it just sees this little dot and it thinks that the dot is the universe, but the dot is a little speck on a leaf in a freaking massive forest. Yeah. But we can't see the entire picture when we're locked into a limitation of the ego. The ego-based way of living life is all about control and force and manipulation. We're going to make it happen. Going to just, just ground life into submission and just get my goal and just force this triangle to fit into a circle, even if it's not the flow. I'm just going to make it. Sometimes you can force things to be certain ways, but it will often come at a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety and trying to make something be something that does not bring you fulfillment. And so the ego-based model is all about what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And you might get what you thought you wanted and achieve it, but then you realize it's not what I really want. So there's a deeper question in the question that there's a deeper sort of consideration in the question that you're asking, which is the question of like, okay, feeling into what is life seeking to manifest? What is life? What is the universe seeking to express? What is God, the divine intelligence? What is God trying to manifest? What is my soul seeking to manifest, to create, to experience? And I think when we can be receptive and open ourselves to attune, to feel, to sense, to align with what is true for us, what is most true, not what your father wanted for you or your mother wanted or society, but like, this is who I am, and this is my truth, and this is my authentic desire and goal. When you can allow that and sort of catch that vision, catch it, feel it, sense it, it's like catching a wave. Imagine you're a surfer and you go to that's why you see these surfers on the surfboard in the ocean and they're kind of waiting, but they're feeling. You could say they're not just doing nothing, but they are non-doing. They're just being with the wave, feeling the wave. It still requires attention and presence and focus and a level of non-doing to do that.
Yeah.
But they're not trying to like splash a wave and make a wave happen where there's no wave.
Yeah.
They're not trying to bring the fire department like let's take a hose and just let's make a big wave. It's like that's not life. So life is like surfing. It's about learning how to become attuned to the wave and the nature of the rhythm and the cycles and the unfolding of life. If you understand that life is like an ocean, you don't have to make the ocean, but we do need to develop the skills to learn how to navigate and surf the ocean more skillfully, because many waves you can't control. You can't try and control your freaking wife, man. I mean, like, try and control her mood, her feeling. It's like, good luck, but you can learn how to skillfully, as a man, navigate and hold the space and listen and be present and just love her as she is. And so I think that when we can attune to the deepest unfolding of our own soul's intention and desire, and then align with that, then you can write it down in your goal sheet or your journal. And then you can sort of bring your marketing and your strategy and your teamwork and your money and your resources to support the fulfillment of what is real, to support the fulfillment of the dream that is actually aligned, not trying to make something that's not aligned be aligned. You're now living in alignment. So now you surrender to the truth of like, this is my calling. Like, I'm meant to write this book. You surrender. That's the surrender. Sometimes the surrender might mean doing something you don't want to do. Sometimes surrender might mean leaving the job you're in and pursuing something else. You're surrendering to the deepest, most authentic truth, aligning with that, then giving 100% to that. You give 100% to what is true without attachment to the outcome. And when you can do that, then you're living in the flow. You're not attached to the wave. You're giving 100% to the wave. You jump on the board and like, let me give it 100%, but you don't like grab onto the wave. And so to align with the goal, that's true and authentic 100%. And then letting go of attachment 100%. And what I believe, I think it's important to focus on is, what you can control. And what I think is really helpful to focus on is not the goal, because I think any goal, a true goal, is evolutionary. That's why I love the name of your podcast. The true goal is evolutionary. A real goal will force you to evolve, where you will not be able, from your current level of consciousness, to manifest that goal. If you can manifest the goal exactly as you are, the goal is actually inauthentic. The goal is not the real goal. A real goal will make you go, oh shit, how do I actually, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure. And it will trigger all of your unworthiness, fear, guilt, that anything that's unresolved that will force you, and it will take you on a journey of evolving and healing and becoming the next level of the version of yourself. So the real goal, and the goal of the goal is not even the goal. The goal of the goal is the journey and the evolutionary process that it takes you on so that you can become the man, the person that is capable of holding the space for the next level of the vision. But if you get so attached to the goal, then you're going to get so locked in and so rigid that you won't be able to evolve if that thing is not it. And so many times I think the goals that we initially get is just the sort of spiritual carrot. It's just to just take you on a journey to evolve. And it's like, okay, now they've gone on the journey, they've evolved, they've expanded, they've healed. And 2 years later, it's like, okay, now they're ready for the real purpose. And many times that's when the real purpose has been revealed. So often the true purpose of your life will not be revealed to you until you've gone on the journey. And many of us as men, we're trying to let me figure out my purpose and let me just gonna put it on this little, mission sheet. But from the level of your consciousness now, that purpose is not going to be the real purpose. It's when you go through the journey and you pursue the goal, not attaching to the goal, and you allow the life to refine you. You allow the universe to transform you. You allow the process of living to heal you, and you do the work. Then your consciousness can expand to catch and receive the vision. Oh, now they're ready. They're ready for the true purpose. They're ready. Mandela, 27 years in prison. I'm sure that wasn't his goal, but 27 years in prison of cooking and grilling. It's like, now he's ripe. Now he's ready to do the work he came to do. And so, anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but what I would say, just one final piece is surrender is not laziness. It's like, it's just, let's go with the flow. So, I'm married, but I feel like sleeping with this woman. So I'm going to go with the flow. Let me just, smoke some weed because I just feel like smoking weed today. It's like sometimes true surrender is not following the fleeting mood of the moment. It is not following a mood. I just don't feel like it right now. I don't feel like exercising right now. I don't feel like working out right now. Sometimes surrender means you do what you don't feel like doing because you have a deeper commitment. You have a deeper commitment to a bigger calling than that immediate comfort.
Yeah. You're surrendering to the bigger thing rather than the smaller thing, right?
Yes.
In that moment. Yeah. I really appreciated that in-depth rant and just digging into the different sides of and different illustrations of surrender. Really love the sex analogy, and because we're bringing ourselves to it, but we're also listening and receiving and letting go. And you can't be too goal oriented in sex. It's a process that you're meant to enjoy. You can be, but it's not going to go as well, and the same goes for surfing. If you're out there just to catch a wave, or you have a specific goal in mind about how many waves you want to catch, you're going to be disappointed, and I think the good surfers, they go out there to be out there, to become a better surfer every day, and to learn how to work with the ocean. And when you push, and you put 100% into catching a wave and you don't catch it, you get back in formation and you chill for a bit, you cool off, and you go after the next one, and you catch as many waves until you need a rest. And then you take time to rest and you get back out there the next day. There's this flow.
And you enjoy the process.
You enjoy the process. Yeah. You go out at sunset and watch the sun go down and just be there, Yeah. So, I love that piece. I want to come back to your story, because I want to make sure we sort of wrap that up before the end of the episode, and, hear a little bit about, how things progressed for you when you landed in LA. That's a very, very interesting place to be, where I think a lot of people don't ever get to, especially at that age. And I know that's probably one of the reasons why you've taken people on the journey that you've taken people on back in the day when you used to take people to India. So I want to hear that piece, and I also want to hear how things evolved with your father, and whether there was
Mm,
a reconnection there, whether there was a healing there,
mm.
and that vein of the story as well.
Yeah. Which part do you want to?
Okay, let's go to like, okay, so you're in LA, and
Yeah.
you're like, what do I do here? I have all of this
Ha.
like spiritual knowledge, and I want to learn from these masters, and I want to become somebody.
Yeah.
I want to follow uh, my heart here. And by the way, you're in a town, you're in the city of lost souls in many ways.
Yeah.
You're in a city where everybody's trying to be somebody.
You know
Um,
what was interesting was I never cared about, even now, I never really cared about being somebody. I never really, really deep down cared about money or fame. I just felt a calling to help people,
hmm,
and I just, it was to be of service in some way. That was the drive, the
hmm,
impulse. Um, and in a nutshell, what I did was I went and found many of these people I read about, saved up money, went to some of their seminars. I was joking with Jack Canfield the other day that I rode the bus to his office in Culver City and harassed him at his office until he would meet with me. Went and found Tony Robbins when I was 18. I met Tony Robbins before, but I found Tony Robbins when I was 18. I wanted to go to one of his seminars in Palm Springs, had zero money. And so tracked him down in a hotel elevator and pitched my heart out to him and got let into the seminar. I went and found these people and studied with some of them, learned from some of them, served some of them, um, just learned. And then there came a point in my growth where I just felt there was another level. And kind of a part of that too, without going too deep into that, because that would take days. But
hmm,
when I was around 19-ish, here a good old year and a half or so, I had this vision of doing a talk show. I wanted to be the next Oprah again, before
right.
podcasts were popular, before any of that. It's like I want to be the next Oprah, and like kind of like what podcasts are now. I want to bring on, let's bring on Shaq, and instead of talking to him just about basketball, let's get into his psychology. Let's get into
Hmm,
his mind. Let's bring on Carlos Santana, Alanis Morissette. Let's talk about creativity, and let's make it interesting. And so I started. I got this. Talk about attachment. I got so attached and obsessed with the show because I felt it was my destiny.
yeah.
It's like boom. So I literally spent a couple of years going broke in the process, sleeping on friends' couches because I had no money to follow this dream. And I literally
Hmm,
pitched everybody in Hollywood. I mean, every agent. I would track agents down on the streets. I would track agents down in restaurants. They kicked me out. They banned me from office. But I tracked Steven Spielberg down. I write about that in my book. I tracked Steven Spielberg down. I tracked David Geffen down. I tracked Arnold Milchan down. I tracked down Richard Branson on the street, and I just pitched these guys. And long story short, um, I tracked down these managers who they married after getting rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and laughed out literally of offices, laughed out. I found these managers. They managed Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, DiCaprio, Backstreet Boys, Martin Lawrence, J Lo. I mean, the list goes. Barbara Streisand, kind of iconic folks. And I read about how they left this management company, were about to start their own, and they were visionary young guys. And so I thought, these are the guys, and I found them. Talked my way into a meeting, and I pitched these guys my vision for a talk show. And they looked at each other and they said, "We're going to make you a star." And I looked at myself and I'm like, wow, someone's actually sees what I see. And they said, "Here's the contract. Come back tomorrow and we're going to start this thing. And we're going to make this huge. We see it. We see it." And I went home and I meditated, because this is what I do. Let me meditate on this. And all I got in my being, not my mind was like, yes. In my being was this same feeling I got when my dad said, "You're going to take over my church."
Uh huh.
It was
Right.
this sinking feeling of like, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am, everything I wanted, and these guys see it, and they're like, we're gonna make you a star. And in my gut, the same thing that has guided me every step was saying something no, basically.
Yeah.
And I had this internal conflict, and I ended up telling these guys, no, I'm not going to do it. And it was like out of a Hollywood movie. And they're like, well, why? Because my soul told me. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
expletive, F your soul, you're crazy. But I just, maybe I was naive enough as well. I just had this sense of, if I don't listen to this, something, when I listen to it, things flow. When I don't, things don't go well. So I just have to listen. No matter what the cost, I must listen to my soul, because going against that, the cost ends up being too high.
Mm-hmm.
And that decision put me honestly into a funk, because I was pissed off at myself, at life, at God, at the universe, the why. And I asked for, what do I do in my life? I said, I basically surrendered. I said, I'm 20, 19, 20. What 20 years? What the hell do I do in my life? I have no degree, no nothing. And now I'm being given a shot. And my soul says no. And I heard a voice that said, walk the Camino de Santiago, 900 kilometers in northern Spain. And that took me walking. I went and walked that. Had no money, but figured it out. It's another story. But that then took me to India, where I stayed for about 3 months. That then changed my life. And then I came back after going through like a year of like radical transformation and healing within myself, of the Camino, sitting in a room for 3 months, going to India for 3 months. Then I came back, and that's when I started coaching people at a young age. And honestly, no idea what I was doing, no coaching, no internet, no nothing other than a deep desire to help people and serve people. And that's all I really cared about. And slowly, I started to evolve a way of working with people. And then I had one particular client who was a complete train wreck. And that's when I hate the word download, but that's when I downloaded a transformational process for this one person that so changed his life that he sent everyone to me. That blew up my coaching career. People started coming from around the world. And one-on-one, it was just me for years in a room, one-on-one, working with someone, transforming a soul, transforming a life. And that's what I felt called to do. And just slowly, it just evolved from one person to then, 5 and 10, and then more people, and then 100 and 200 and 500 people in a room. And then my retreats and my other retreats and my courses and 2 best-selling books, and just everything was a natural evolution as I healed and my consciousness expanded, and the next level was ready as I opened up to the next level within myself. There was a natural evolutionary process. And I didn't really plan it. I didn't push it. I just followed the next step in the process. And I think that many times we try to figure out our purpose and the next step rather than taking the next step. And if you just take the next step, you don't have to know, you don't even have to know where you're going to get to exactly where you need to be. But there is an intelligence inside of every one of us that knows. And so if you feel a nudging, what do I do? What do I do? Just take a step and stand there and see. And often when you take a step and you stand there, you'll on the floor somewhere, you'll see a sign that says, oh, this way. And then many times we're trying to look around the corner of our life and go, where do I go? Do I turn left or right? But it's only when you get to the edge and you look, then you're right there, and you look around the corner, you see that way is a cliff and that way is wide open. And so life cannot be figured out just by forecasting and forward thinking. Life, I think, has to be lived. And in the process of living, life often makes sense in reverse when you look back. And so you take a step, life reveals the next step. You take another step, life reveals the next step. And life and your purpose is often revealed to you in the process of living itself. It's lived into, not just figured out. And so every step I've lived into it. And I think because I haven't tried to over plan things have worked out beyond what I could have planned. And I feel like it's just warming up, to be honest. Things are just Like it just, I honestly feel like I haven't even started my life, my purpose, my career.
How old are
And
you?
ageless, man. I'm in my 40s. You know,
40s.
I've been doing
Yeah.
this for 20, 25 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dude. For a lot of people, their best years are their 50s and their 60s, right? Because everything sort of coagulates and
I
comes
feel like,
together. Yeah.
I feel like life has just prepared me for now.
Mm-hmm.
And everything I've been through has just been, you know what was funny? And this is stuff I even sometimes talk about on podcasts, but all of these journeys I took to India, all of these thousands of clients I worked with, all of these retreats and intensive 12-day events, seminar, intense shit that I did with people. I remember there was one journey that I took a client one-on-one to India. They're called my liberation experience. I don't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was after the fifth or sixth one. I said, wow, this is amazing. I'm changing lives. And I heard this voice that said, well, the joke's on you, son, because you think you're doing this for other people. But we're taking you through this 20 plus times. They do it once, you go through it 20 times, like, because we are actually preparing you. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, everything I think, we are souls and we are here to evolve. And life is really, really like a university for our soul's evolution. And everything, every relationship, every heartbreak, every pain, every bankruptcy, every check, everything and every experience is really serving you and pointing you towards your growth and evolution. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To me, there's nothing else going on. So if you say, well, what is the purpose of life? Yeah, it's this, it's this, it's that. Ultimately, it's to evolve. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about evolution. There's nothing else really happening. It looks like there's other things happening, but we're in an evolutionary process, and the evolutionary process is called life itself.
Yeah.
I think at that deepest level.
Man, the way I have to applaud just the way that you embody surrender and in listening, just that deep listening that you have, that ability that you have. Like I see how that is one of the core medicines that you bring to people, right? This
Yeah.
ability to like tune in. What is your soul's calling? And
Listen.
and listen and like, yeah, make those left or right turns at moments when you didn't know yesterday what you were going to do today.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like just to reinforce what you're saying, a lot of people think that you're going to be able to plan out your life and where you're going. And you're going to, you're going to be Warren Buffett one day. Just save your pennies and invest them, and you're going
But
to play life that way,
if we look,
right?
if we all look, and we're honest, at the best things in your life that have happened, did you plan it?
No,
I mean, meeting your wife, me
no,
meeting my wife. I didn't plan that shit. It
no.
just, the best things kind of happened. And yeah, it wasn't like you just sat at home, surrendered. You said, no, you were living life. And the best things just sort of happened in the process of you meet her. Wow. In the most random way that you least expect. It's like, oh, I didn't expect that. That's the magic right there. That's the blessing. I think the more we can open ourselves to that, that's when the miracles happen, the blessings happen, and grace flows. And I think the more we can live in that, more and more and more of your life becomes more aligned and more amazing. I mean, not perfect, because there's no perfect utopia in this 3D experience, but I think we start living more of it in alignment, and maybe you guys will appreciate this quote. I don't want to limit it to the guys, for the women listening, but if there's one thing I have begun seeing through my life years ago, it's like the deeper I go in my evolutionary path, the more I surrender, the deeper I go, the less choice I have. The less choice I have, the freer I feel.
Mm-hmm.
There's the paradox.
Yeah.
The more in ego I am, me, the more choice I think I have.
Yeah.
Is I think I can sleep with whoever I want, do whatever I want, with whoever I want, however many times I want, that kind of thing, which is cool. We can. But the more on the surface I am, the more choice I think I have, the less free I am. Mm-hmm. Because I think the more you let go, the more you align with a purpose that is bigger than yourself, the more you connect with your truth, there's certain things that you can no longer do anymore. There's certain ways of being that it's not good or bad. It just doesn't work for where you're going, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think the real freedom is in that alignment, you know?
Yeah. I love that you shared about like how, how you met your wife, like for me, like this, it just hit home so hard, my wife, was in the same social circle that I was in Vancouver. I had never met her. Like 100 of my friends knew her, but I still hadn't met her. She had been married and was just starting to kind of go through a divorce. And I had a mutual friend who moved into her house and was like, "Oh, you've got to meet this guy. You've got to meet Ben."
Mm.
And so we connect on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, I've heard we're supposed to meet. Like, I heard you're going through a thing. No rush. Like, would just love to see what's there someday. Would love to meet you someday." We set up 3 separate dates, all of which she canceled because she wasn't feeling great or she didn't want to go to a party. She was feeling more like a hermit, which is why I hadn't met her. She's like very sort of in at home a lot, And I'm like, cool, that's fine, no rush. Like I'm not in a rush, but would love to meet you someday. Hey, why don't we just set up a dinner, like just you and I? And she agrees, and we set it up for the next week. The next day, we literally bump into each other on the street as we're walking around a corner
There
at
you
our
go.
favorite coffee shop. We both have the same coffee shop, and I'm cold. She gives me her coat. I made her laugh, and like it was just history, like it just like
Yeah.
clicked
Timing,
right in that
timing,
moment. It's all about
definitely.
timing.
All of it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you do this, that you were doing this liberation experience with your clients, that it was something that you took people on one-on-one. That's like that's a lot of work. That's a lot of dedication. That's going deep with people.
Deep, very deep.
And yeah, I just respect that that's how you work. You're not like a teacher where you're teaching a curriculum. You like jump into the curriculum with people, and the
That's the
curriculum is
way.
life, and
Yeah, yeah.
I do that with ayahuasca and some of the men that I sit with in that space and in men's groups. Like I'm in the men's group, like I'm one of the
Mm-hmm.
men. Um, so I love that you do that. I want to come back to your dad and hear about what happened there. Is your dad still alive?
Yeah.
How did things evolve with him?
Okay. So yeah, I healed a lot with my father, and I started that healing journey very quite young. I remember I thought I kind of thought I was cool with my dad, even when I left America, left the London.
Hmm.
What I realized I was doing as a young man was just a bypass,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual bypass. I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. I'm good. He's perfect. It's all perfect. We all have we all have the perfect parents for our soul's evolution. It's like bullshit. And so I remember when I fell in love with kind of fell in love with my first girlfriend. She said she was a lot older than me, and she said, "I think you have some anger towards your father." And my response at the ripe old age of 19, 20 was, "Thank you very much. This relationship is done." and then I fell madly in love at 21, like with the woman I thought was the one, man. I mean, this is it. I saw in my dreams, this is it. A bit older than me again, a bit wiser. And she says, "I think you have some anger towards your father, And this time, because I was so sure she was it, I realized I have to heal myself. And that's what forced me into therapy, you could say. Like, I'm not gonna lose this girl. Like, she is it. I'm not. And so I started therapy every week. I went to this men's weekend thing. I was in a men's group, and I just started like doing this work. And I remember, I'll never forget, the healing began, and I'll condense it. But in that men's weekend that I did at 21, the rage and anger towards my father, man, it was so much that I didn't even know was there. And I felt like so much healed and released and completed for me as a young man. And I really felt like I forgave my father, and the next day after this weekend seminar. I even forget where it was. I don't even remember what it was exactly, but I remember there was a seminar. And the next day, my father, after 2 years, calls me up out of the blue. I mean, he's old school. For an old school African guy to call his son, it's like, that's a miracle. And he said, I think it's, maybe time we start talking. And that began the healing. And slowly for a few years, we kind of healed as much as we could. And I would say I did more work on healing and forgiving and accepting. And so, I think by the time I was 30 overall, we were cool. I mean, we weren't bros. My father's not the type of guy you can chit chat about everything with, But I remember being in a kind of neutral, a good place within myself with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2016, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And 2017, she died, which was an amazing, excruciatingly heartbreaking, beautiful process for me that inspired my book, The Magic of Surrender. And in the moment she died, I spoke to my mother's spirit on the other side. And I said to my mother, you're 10 years younger than my father. It's kind of expected he would go first. I asked her, why did you leave? And she said, I died to gift you the complete and total karmic healing with your father. I needed to remove myself from this planet so that there was nothing in between you and your father, so you could heal exactly what needed to be healed. Because my mother and I were very close. And in that moment, I knew then the soul work, the next level of soul work that I had to do. And that was to completely, energetically, karmically heal with my father, the next level of forgiveness. Because up until that moment, I said, well, he knows where I am. He can call me too,
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't speak for months, I love him. We're cool. I don't have anger, but it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
At that moment, I put everything aside. I cut all the bullshit and I said, none of it matters. He's my father. He's a soul. He's doing the best he knows how to do based on his conditioning. I completely forgive him. And I expect nothing from him. What I know is I love my dad. He wasn't there for me as a boy. I needed a father. He wasn't there. And let me grieve that completely. But the truth is I love my father. And if I love my father, then let me love my father completely so that when his time comes and he dies, then as a man, I want to be able to be in complete peace. And so I decided I was going, and I realized too, he was not a great father. But the truth is, I was not a great son. That's the truth. And I said, I want to live in such a way that when he dies, I can have peace, that I was a great son to him and make up for that time. And so I decided that I would call my father every single day until he died, that I would love him as much as I could. I would just devote myself to loving his soul as a manifestation of God. And I called him every day, never speaking for 2-3 months, to checking in with my dad. And I had to let go of the idea of the father I wanted and let go of what I wanted from him so that I could just be with what he was. The complete acceptance of just, this is what he is, man. He's just not capable of this. Doesn't mean he doesn't love me, but it's just what he is. And I just loved him as he is without any expectation of him reciprocating anything. And slowly the healing happened. Something healed in him, because there's something that happens when you give grace to someone that doesn't deserve grace. And the truth is, as a father, my father didn't really deserve a son that showed up for him now. There's a lot of my father's children that just said, fuck him and just don't speak to him. But there's something that happens when you show up when someone doesn't deserve it in a way with love. And I just decided I just loved him every day. I would fly to Ghana 3 times in a year to sit with my father for 5 days and just sit there and be with him 3 times a year. Fly there, sit with my dad, and leave. Fly there, sit with my dad, and leave. And just to sort of check in with his soul. And it wasn't that great conversation. It was just, I said, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to love this man and let him know he's loved. And I think it was so healing for him because he realized he was not there for me, yet I was being there for him. And he started calling me and he started wishing me happy birthday. He never remembered my birthdays. And the healing that started happening for his soul and my soul was so profound that I remember about 5 years into this in 2023-ish, more than 5 years, 7 years. I remember feeling like 6 years. I remember feeling like, wow, I'm complete with him. Like karma had shifted. Like I felt such peace and love for my father and his soul. And I just felt good, And the moment happened where I felt such healing. And I really believe that healing, let me back up to finish the story. I met my wife in that time. She got pregnant in 2022. The baby was due in 2023. And I remember telling my wife, I'm going to tell my father. Told my father. My father said, I have a vision of you having a child. It's beautiful. He was happy. And I told my wife, I don't think my father will live to see the birth of my son. And she was like, no. I said, the cycle of karma is complete. The mission is completed. And sure enough, 1 month later in November, he passed away, made his transition. As he left, my son came in. And the work that I did in those 5 to 6 years of the next layer of healing, I felt was the karmic energetic shift that helped heal my lineage completely, the masculine in my lineage, that literally shifted the timeline, the karma, that allowed my wife to come in, that allowed my son to come through. And when I look at my son now, he's 2 years old, he's so full of light that I see that my healing has freed my son from the darkness and the shame and the addictions and the karma that has been passed down through generations. And it stopped with me. And I look at him and I'm like, my son is free. And the generations that come from now, from him, carry a completely different vibrational, energetic frequency. And so I believe that as men, as humans, we all have the power and responsibility to heal ourselves. But knowing that as we heal ourselves, we heal our generations, we heal our lineage, but we also gift the generational wealth of consciousness to the generations to come. And so when my father died, it was peace. And I was so blessed that I got that gift, that opportunity.
So blessed that you got that opportunity with your dad. My dad's dad died when my dad was 19 and he was away at school, and he heard his dad was sick and he went all the way back to his small town and visited his dad for a while and then went, and his dad said, go back to school. You can't hang out here with me until I die, like go, and off he went. And that was the last time he saw his dad, That's a beautiful story, man. And I've got a 2.5-year-old as well. So, that description of feeling almost like clean and the just the sense of satisfaction of like what you're passing down to your child.
I have freed my son.
Yeah.
We all have the power. I think the greatest gift that as men and as parents we can give is not just like, money and a house and because that will pass, but a free consciousness that is free from the patterns of previous generations. Because what we do not heal and what we do not free ourselves from, the addictions, the pain, the traumas, that some of it's not even ours, belongs to our ancestors, that energy will flow onto the next generation. And often they will vibrationally act it out or, play out those tendencies or recreate certain dynamics that they don't even know.
Yeah.
They're not even aware of. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had Mark Woolen on my show years ago to talk about inherited family trauma, and it's a very impactful subject that's sort of just, it's a mind blower, man, to imagine the what we carry, from lineages above and what we're
Yeah.
passing down below us and what our responsibility is here for healing. It's not just
Yes.
our healing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also
Mm-hmm.
beautiful interconnection of all life. We tend to see ourselves in a silo or
Yes. Yes.
alone, and that perspective shows the tendrils into the future and into the past
Yeah.
that are connected to us.
For sure.
So thank you, man. I could talk to you for hours. I appreciate hearing your
Thank you.
stories, your perspective, your wisdom drops in the middle of your story, your willingness to share your personal story about, with your father and on your journey here with me, rather than platitudes or just talking about the teachings, teachings in your book or wisdom teachings. That stuff's important, but it's like, it really hits home when we talk about our own stories,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I appreciate your willingness to do that and
Thank
to come here and to share what you've got with my listeners. I know that so much of what you shared here is going to resonate with a lot of the men that I work with. Your father's story is beautiful, man. And I agree with you. I think I'm really excited to watch what you do in the next 20, 30 years of your life, as especially fatherhood, man. It like,
life changing.
when that opened up for me, I was like, oh, there's like a whole other dimension of learning, growth, wisdom,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
heart that's
Yeah.
coming through me now, medicine,
Next
like it's just
level.
like amplified,
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what you do with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, brother, how can people find you? How can people engage with your work? What are you up to lately that
Yeah,
you want people to know
I,
about?
I would say a couple of things. If you haven't read the books, You Are the One, The Magic of Surrender, just check them out. I'm writing a new book now, so that's coming through in the next year or so. My website, kuteblackson.com, Kute. I'm creating the next, actually, right now in the process of creating the next level of, I do a lot of intensive retreats and work, seminars, and so I'm creating the next level and evolution of those that we're going to be announcing over the next month. So you can go there and find out more about the retreats we have coming and the events we have coming. My podcast, Soul Talk, you can check it out there. There's a couple of free gifts I'd love to gift to everyone. At the beginning of the year, I created we'll call it an online course with 8 videos, 8 small modules. Decided to gift it to the world for free, something super simple and accessible that people can access. It's called the 8 levels of gratitude. And I kind of walk people through the 8 levels of gratitude that when you learn to harness can begin to just amplify the energetic effect of your life. You can receive that at www.8levelsofgratitude.com, probably link in the show notes. Also just created a new masterclass that we're sharing with the world also. It's also free. It's all about manifesting from deep alignment and surrender, and how to sort of take the invisible, intangible visions and bring them into reality in an authentic way. You can access the masterclass, www.manifestationmasterclassonline.com.
Awesome, man. Yeah, some very practical courses that a person can do themselves. They can go on this journey and have you as their teacher, along a lot of the subject matter that we've covered in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful work, man. Thank you for what you do in the world. Thank you for coming on the show. We'd love to have you on again.
Anytime.
All the best.